Hey everyone, welcome to today's Bonsai. On today's episode, there is something wrong with the passive solar green frame. Can I fix it? Be right back. Welcome to Bonsai Acres. Welcome everyone into the backyard next to the passive solar green frame where the sun is starting to creep over and hit the PSGF. Now what's going on with the passive solar green frame? Well, I'm not getting enough energy. I've talked about this before, but I need to fix my problem. I don't get enough sun to put power into the generator to make sure the fans are going and keeping that thing above freezing and below 50 when I want to. So as the sun creeps over, I've got some good news. Toby came over and helped me to start to install the second solar panel. Let's look at that while we wait for the sun so we can test it out. Please grab that side, because the other side's the sensitive side. I want to see, are these even close to wood? They are. Okay, so there and here. They're called M4 connectors, and they're industry standard, so everybody has M4 connectors. I gotta see if I can shove these two through the hole. So I don't want to yank it out again.
Yeah.
Oh, I got some room. So you know what I gotta do next time? I gotta crimp it later.
Oh yeah, once the wire's already through.
Okay, that one's through, but it's stuck on something. Houston, we have a problem.
Not Houston. That's not good.
Plan B. Okay, so I'll tell you the problem. So I have a round circular plastic thing in there
I think I saw
that
it.
only 2 wires can fit through.
Oh no. Yeah, sturdy.
Can you see the gap?
Sturdy as will ever be. I see it. Do you see the cords?
I do now, I got them.
There we go.
Okay.
And that part's done.
This goes like that.
Oh.
And then goes up against that, right?
We go into the 2x4?
But I also can do, no, this way right here, this way right there. This is the part I could have done in the house before you came over. Actually, David, this way.
Not my area of expertise.
Okay, I've got one screw in here and one screw in there.
Okay.
And that's about an inch from the edge. So this should work.
What about the bottom? Bottom doesn't look.
Well, we'll go all the way up high.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm gonna go right here so I don't block my windows. Right? So it's gonna be here and here.
Oh, okay.
So here, there, there.
Gotcha.
Four screws should be enough.
Yeah, that should work.
Now, if we could have done this a couple days ago when it was 40 degrees and
just
foggy and rainy,
Just a bit warmer.
because of the cold coming, guess what else comes with the cold? Sunshine.
Less weather, less cloud coverage.
When high pressure comes in, then it's a lot of sunshine, but then in this case, it's going to be a lot of cold. Okay, we're almost there. I bet you I have 2 washers left in there, right?
2 in my hand.
Yep. Grab and hold on to.
Oh, so you're doing it.
And
It's
we're
like
gonna
right
put
down
it
here,
right on here. And this is going to be dangling up here for now. And we'll cover this up underneath because we have plenty of extra wire. There we go. Okay, so I'm on where I need to be. Are you on where you need to be?
I am.
Can you go over?
Don't think we're level, but
Yeah. Well, can you go over like
yeah.
right about there for center? Is that center of the 2x4?
Yeah.
I'm center of the 2x4. Where's level?
My side's lower.
Okay, so
That looks more level than me.
I need
But
to go
go
my
your
way.
way.
Yeah, my way. What's we stuck on?
I don't know, we're
Stuck-
getting
oh,
caught
we're
on
stuck up
something.
top.
Oh. Okay, are we in place?
I'm gonna put one in center. I'm in center right now.
I am as well.
You got it?
Got it.
It's still at a good angle, just like that one. I get about 9:30 till whatever sun, but now in another week or so,
Yeah.
or another month or so, it'll
Yeah.
be maybe just above that tree line. It'll
Right.
go all the way
Just
to the next set of trees.
Just enough.
Okay, I'm inside the passive solar green frame now. We got the cable dangling from the roof. The panel is on. And so before I do any connecting, even though it's a gray day, when you're working with electricity, even if it's solar panels, you want to turn things off first. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my power source system. That just shut off. So that click means it's off. I'm going to unplug the cable, which allows the energy from here to go into the power station. Now I'm not connected to anything. So anytime you're working with electricity, you've got to have a loop, right? You can't have a gap in your loop. You can't break the circuit. My original panel here has the M4 cables down here that attach and make it all work. So now I have to take off my bulky gloves and I have to detach this. There we go. Chopstick, not just for bonsai. So this is the power source that goes into my power box. And so I've got my positive and negative and my positive and negative. But what I have to do is I have to connect my new source of power, my original source and my new source, into a Y that goes into one that goes into each side. So let me get my Y brackets and we're going to be almost ready for power within seconds. So here are my Y splitters. And of course, when you have negative and positive, male and female, the positive, this red, is going to go into this female connector. There's the red one from my new source. And here's the red one from the old source. So there's my reds. And then the black cable from my original source to the black. And then my black to the black. So it's interesting when you're crimping on the M4 cables onto your wire here, you're actually connecting a male to a female and the internal workings on these to make it so they fit. It's confusing. That's what YouTube is for. All right, so here we go. And here's my power source. So I've got the red to go into there, and I've got the black to go into there. I just right now doubled my power from the sun. I'm going to go from about 150 watts of power to hopefully 300 watts. Now, the huge bummer about this right now is the gray clouds. But it's going to get so cold in the next couple days, I had to do this now so we can test it when the sun comes out. We're looking at highs in the single digits come this weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in right now, and let's just see if there's any voltage at all going through. The power station is showing 100% energy. The battery's fully charged, so nothing has to come in. So the way they make these generators now, once the power's there, it stops taking new power. I'm going to take the portable heater that I have, I'm going to plug it into the power station right now. Because those things take anywhere from 750 to 1500 watts, which means I could use my backup generator here for maybe an hour or two. Let's turn it on. Let's make sure it's turned on. We got AC going. And we got DC going. So as we look at the Blue Eddy system right there, we have an output. Look at the output, everybody. That heater right now is taking 1250 watts, 1248, 1241. That's a lot of watts. And some of these systems can use as much as 1500 watts. But I have 100% power, and right now it's plugged into the grid, so it's staying at 100% power. So the moment I take it off grid, we're going to watch how this goes down. All right, so let's unplug the power from the grid. There we go. Now, did you see that? Look at the number on the left side. The left side represents what's going into the source. It's cranking on some venting there. We're at 0. That means there's nothing coming in from the grid, and unfortunately, there's no sun out, so we're not getting an ounce. If you can see the 88% there, below it says 0.4 hours left. This would run dry and run down in less than a half an hour, everybody. So this is like when I talk about, I wish I would have had one more foot to my PSGF for me to move around in here. I should have gotten the next size up with the power station and definitely, of course, had 2 panels from the get-go. 4 watts of power. The sun is trying to get through the clouds. 4 watts of power hitting the system right now, which would not keep up to the heater on any day. The moment we went off grid, my generator just already started to lose percentage of battery life, just like instantly. Right now, we're at 70% of the battery left. Now I have it plugged in so it works automatically, but what I usually do is attach it to my thermostat regulated source. When it's hooked to this and it's 43 degrees in here, it wouldn't even be on right now. And it only would go on if it got down to 32 degrees and then we'd kick it on. But for the cold stretch we're about to have, single digits for highs for 5 days and below 0 for the nights, we're going to leave it hooked up to the grid for this coming week. But the solar panel is showing about 3-4 watts of power, which shows that at least it's working. So everything's working and that's good. I can't wait to see it on a full sunny day. We'll test it then and of course show you what's going on. So great having Toby. Thanks Toby for your help. To have 2 people hanging on to these beautiful solar panels, you don't want to damage them, right? So we anchored them down to the design of the PSGF. I got real lucky with the size here. It fits real nice and it's solid on here and it's not blocking the window. So I was thinking about putting it up there, but this won't block any of the window. We'll get all our greenhouse effect, and this of course will help power up that panel inside, or the generator. And as the sun gets higher and higher, as we hit the new year here, as we're filming this, the sun's gonna keep getting higher. You know, we're talking 30 seconds to a minute every couple of days. Nothing major at first, but super wonderful. The cable will tuck in there, get it all nice and neat, get it out of our way, and we are all set to keep this thing generated without the grid as much as possible. That's always my goal, is to try to be off grid. The better I get at it here, then the better I'm gonna be up at Bonsai Acres. So until the sun comes out, we can really test it. It's starting to snow, our hands are cold. We'll be back in just a click. It's 24 hours later. Some things got in the way of filming yesterday, but the sun came back out today. So we're about 24 hours later. You can see now that the sun is fully engulfed onto the PSGF. So we have to go inside and see how the new solar panels are working. Let's go check things out. Still bitterly cold out there. Let's take out the phone for some reference and let you all know here as I take off my gloves, because in here, I think we're at 35 degrees or so. Oh, we're up to 40 degrees. So 40 Fahrenheit with the sun warming the PSGF. The heater is, it's still on actually, because I wanted it to be a little warmer in here. So it's warming things up a little bit nicer so I can make sure I'm comfortable chatting with you all. It's 6 degrees and feels like 7. This morning it was -1 and felt like 15 below. -1 felt like 15 below. But right now we've warmed all the way up to 6. Full sun, feels like 7 below out there. So we're gonna check out the solar situation. Now, the Blue Eddy is at 100% power. So I've had the solar panels on with everything plugged in and it juiced it all up to 100%. So I've unplugged the power source from the grid and we're gonna go ahead and plug it into the Blue Eddy power station here. But before we do that, let's show you the Blue Eddy power station. We're at 100% juiced up and there's only 1 watt being used, and that's probably from the DC power which goes into this, which is my Wi-Fi router. Using 1 whole watt right now of DC power. No fans are on, we're at 100% power, but let's go ahead and plug in the fan and watch how instantly. So here's my plug-in right here. Let's get this in there. There we go. This fan is set at the lower level, so it should be about 750 watts. And so there's 600 watts, 615, 20, 27. So we're coming up towards 700 watts of power that's going to drain from the Blue Eddy. And you see we're still at 100% power, and if we continue to use this much power right now, we've got 1.1 hours now, 1 hour left of juice on this thing at this level. That's why heating a PSGF is not great with these ceramic heaters, because they use so much power. Let me turn the heat source to high. Oh, there we go. 1100 watts right there, 1100 watts. Now we're down to 98% power. You see how fast that's draining this battery? And now look over there on the input side, we're at 215 watts of power. Now 214 watts of power is not going to juice this up with this draining 1358 watts. So let's go ahead and turn back the fan to low. We just turned the fan to low, and now we're back down to 660 watts. This is now down to 201. We're at 92%. But this would never catch up to that. But it's still nice to have some power. When we hook up solar panels, we can hook them up either in series or we can hook them up in parallel. And we'll talk about that in a moment, in the warmth of my home, because it is chilly out here. Even in the PSGF, my feet are cold. I have these hooked up right now in series. We're only getting about 223 watts of power right now. Now I have two 200-watt panels on the roof. Some of the factors that go into how much wattage you get. Now, if it's rated at 200, you'll almost never, probably never, ever get 200 watts. I think the highest rating I've ever seen is 88 to 92% of your watts. So if we get 90% of our watts, we're only going to get 180 watts. The most I've seen with one solar panel has been about 168 or so. So that's pretty close. So when you put two of those together, I should have well over 300 watts. So why don't I? Well, the sun right now is going through some hazy high clouds. So that's not a direct sun line from sun to solar panel with nothing disrupting it. And we're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of parallel versus series in a moment with that as well. So I'm going through some high clouds, and then the solar panels are slightly at a different angle. And are they at the perfect angle for the sun right now at 12 o'clock in the afternoon? Maybe not quite. Maybe at 1 o'clock we'll get a little bit higher. 243 watts. And of course, the heater is taking a lot of power. So let's go ahead and unplug the heater. Unplug the heater from the Blue Eddy, and we'll notice we have back to 1 watt going out. 228 watts going in and 1 going out. So this 89% battery life here, which would give us 2.2 hours of power here on this cold day, is going to go up to 90% in a little bit. So the longer we stay here and watch this, which is like watching paint dry, we're going to hit 90%. So I'm going to head back into my house, and we're going to get to the computer and print off a few things for me to look at so I can talk real briefly about series versus parallel. So you do need several hours of the sun to fully charge the Blue Eddy from down at, maybe 20% power up to 100%. You're going to need several hours based on the watts. So at some point here eventually, we are going to hit 90% on the Blue Eddy. There we go. We hit 90 right there. So it took me in that time about 2-3 minutes of yapping with you to go up to 90%. And we're going to hope that goes up to 100 here with the sun out. So I'm going to leave this alone and we'll head inside where it's warm to talk about series versus parallel really quickly. Everything you buy is rated for a number, but it's never going to be that high. But certain products, when you're looking at their reviews, go ahead and get the highest one that they review. You can judge based on that. Some are 93% effective, some of them are 88%. And if they're down below 85, down to 80s, that's just not nearly as good as a 90, 91, 92% rating or tested rate. Even though they rate it for 100, you might only get 93 of that 100 watts and so on and so forth. Let's get inside where it's warm. My knees are cold, my feet are cold. And let's talk about series versus parallel real quick, and we'll be finishing this up.
We're inside the plant We're inside the plant room, and I still can't talk. We're going to look at series versus parallel. Now, I've been working with solar panels and the Blue Eddy for a year or two now. I did something with my school a couple years back where I learned how to make solar suitcases to send to Africa so they could have lights in their schools. So I've had a little bit of education on electricity and volts and amps and watts and watt hours, but I still can't teach it to save my life. I have to think about it and think about it hard. So we're going to go to a couple of diagrams for you. And the first one is a real nice colorful one that's blue that shows series versus parallel. So as you can see, these two panels that are set up right now, on the left side is the solar panel in series. So you put the plus over to the negative, and then the plus on the one on the right goes to your system. And then the negative from that left panel goes to the system. Now, when you plug in solar panels in series, the benefit of this is you're going to increase the volts. And so the volts in electricity is sending so much more power to your systems. So if you think of, they would explain it to me when I was learning about solar power, like if you have a tube people use a hose analogy. If you had a 12-volt hose, it's this big, but then a 24-volt hose would be twice as big. So much more water, or in this case electricity, so much more voltage, more power can get through. Plug in your systems in a series system, which is what I did for this episode, then you get more voltage. So you go from 12 volts to 24. When you set it up in parallel, you can see there, you're going to go from black to black on the solar panels, and then you're going to put those into some kind of Y configuration, and then the reds to the reds. So right here in the studio, I've got my Ys that I originally set this up out there before to go into parallel first, but I didn't seem to get as much power. So I just went back out there in the cold real quick and I set it up with the Y system. Guess what? I only seem to get about 168 watts of power from 2 solar panels, but I didn't think it affected the watts. So you electricians out there, help me out here. So I have a Blue Eddy 180, which means there's 1,800 possible watts in this system. But like I said out on the passive solar green frame, you're never going to get 1,800 watts. And mine ends up is rated for about 1,500. So it's an 1,800 or 180 from Blue Eddy, but you only get 1,500 watts in the end. I don't know why don't they just call it a 1,500 system? Okay, so be careful when you buy things. Now the key is with your Blue Eddy system is you want to make sure that you're getting the right power into the system and knowing what goes in. Now you can see here on the list from Blue Eddy the input into the 180. And the solar input, you can only put in 500 watts of solar power. So right now I have 2 400 watt panels. I could go up to 600. You wouldn't get the full 600, but then you would have closer to 500 watts. That would really juice up and fill up that battery a lot faster. But here's something to take a peek at. Notice how the very last number on there is 10A. That's 10 amps. So regardless of the amperage or the amps that come in from your power system, it's going to go into the inverter inside the Blue Eddy, and it doesn't matter if you have 20 amps of power, it only receives 10, and it's not going to blow it up. My biggest fear with electricity is that when you plug things in, things are going to catch fire, and it's going to be like, disaster. But if I have a 20 amp system coming into the Blue Eddy, the Blue Eddy can only receive 10 amps, and it just takes the 10 amps. So going back to the blue diagram, when you're hooked up in parallel, you'll notice we go from 8 amps to 16 amps by going to the parallel design. What's weird to me is why, if I hook it up parallel, even though the amperage is bigger, why am I not getting as much power from the 200 watt solar panels as I got in series when the amperage stayed the same? Going back to the Blue Eddy sheet, so we've got a VOC, volts open circuit, of 12 to 60, and then it says volts DC after that. So when you look at the back panels of your solar panels, you don't want to go over 60 volts open circuit. You can see that if I put 2 of these together, I'm not going to get over 60 watts. If these are rated at 23 volts, or 23 volts open circuit, when we combine my 2 solar panels, we're in the 40 range. So we're right in that 12 to 60 sweet spot. So 2 panels are good. Now if I hook up a 3rd panel and I get above 60, that's what you don't want to do. So you have to be very careful with your panels when you're buying them. So they always recommend when you're looking for your stations or your inverters, you buy your inverter first, or you buy your Blue Eddy first, and then you get the solar panels and make sure it all matches up. So this is from the Renogy website. If you have 3 panels that are 30 volts each, you put those together, that's 30, 60, 90 volts of power. Now this is a benefit if you have a higher system that needs more volts, and so you don't lose as much voltage over long distances. So if you have 100 feet of cable, the more volts you have, you're going to have less resistance. So 90 volts going 100 feet is going to have a whole bunch of leftover volts when it hits your system than if you just had 10, 20, 30 volts all together. So yeah, if you have solar panels with more voltage put together, because you're going 100 feet before your systems from the array out here to the system in here, that's the advantage of series. You're going to get a whole bunch of more volts. Now my system at the PSGF, I have the solar panels not even 10 feet from the Blue Eddy. So that's not really an issue. So I don't need to hook it up in series. But I'm still confused as to why when I do hook it up in series, I'm getting a whole lot more watts through the system. 258 or 60 was the highest I recorded. And then when I went out there later, I double checked, and in parallel, I only got 168 or 169-ish. So I'm confused why parallel I lost some of the power. There's less volts in parallel because the volts didn't change. So the volts on my system, if they're only say 12 volts, and I have 2 solar panels, well, only 12 volts is going into my Blue Eddy system, and so maybe it's just not getting as much power. Whereas when I double it in series, and that goes to 24 volts, or if you had 3 of them together, 36 volts, well then there's that much more power going into the Blue Eddy. So that's my assumption. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm still learning this power thing. My biggest thing is I don't want to start a fire. So I'm really glad to hear that the amps are not going to be a problem. Now, if you don't understand all that, because I am not a professional, I have 2 links on my video today that really has taught me almost everything I know, and I bought a book from the one guy, and I've been watching videos from the other guy. These 2 guys are pretty funny. So the one guy I watch the most is Bill Prowse. So Will Prowse he's all about electricity, and he critiques all these systems, and he knows his electricity inside and out. It's kind of like in Bonsai when we watch Ryan Neal. All the stuff he said is like way over our head, and we just try to get the basics from Ryan Neal. Check out Will Prowse. Now he has a book. He's set up RVs. He's set up homes. He has a Tesla that he charges with solar power. This man is electric god in my books. Oh my gosh, he knows so much. The other guy that's kind of fun to watch, who critiques a lot of Blue Eddies and the Jackery products and EcoFlow and all those other products, is Hobotech. So check out the links down below. And Hobotech is a goofball, silly guy, but he's lived off grid, I think, and he has done a whole bunch of stuff with electricity as well. And he has 3 new videos that he put out that talks about amps and volts and watts. So he does a good job of breaking it down and showing some pictures. So I have a picture of his that I grabbed on the screenshot. And again, this is Hobotech. Check him out in the link below. And he showed this system, and there's the Blue Eddy to the right? And you see that 10 amps circled in the middle? When you have MPPT, which is solar power coming in, the Blue Eddy only takes those 10 amps. Even if you have a 20 amp system, which he shows with that 1 solar panel on the left, you're not going to blow up your Blue Eddy. So that was awesome to see. Now the numbers on the bottom say 300 volts to 60 volts, or 30 to 60 volts. That solar panel has 40 volts. That's right in the range of that 30 to 60 volts. So there are a couple of images and a little bit on the electricity. I'm still learning as I go. If you can give me any tidbits in the comments, I would certainly appreciate it. I in no way know what I'm talking about at all. But I haven't blown up anything yet, and things are running. Blah, 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 blah. Too much talking. I hope you stuck with me. If you did, thank you so much. I love providing information when I kind of know what I'm talking about, and I really love enjoying information when I really know what I'm talking about. The PSGF is fine. I've got 2 panels now, and I'm getting about 240, 50 watts of power. That'll juice it up in a few hours from 20 to 30%. It'll go up there in a few hours on a sunny day. Now, the heater that I have in there, as you saw today in today's video, that really drains it dry. I only have about an hour of the Blue Eddy to survive the night. So for these cold spells, when it's going to get below freezing, that's where I'm having tricky spots, and I need the grid to keep the heater on to keep me at about 30 or warmer, preferably warmer than the freezing mark. Then the sun comes out like today, and I'm in the low 40s in there, which is fantastic. Okay, more experimenting. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Welcome to Bonsai Acres.